every time I talk to people about going to Pakistan, people are like, "Why are you going to Pakistan?" Right? Like in your mind, you're like, "Subhan," Subhan goes to Pakistan, but like in your mind, you're like, "Why is Subhan going to Pakistan?"
It looks like a youth group at the masjid, right? And that looks great, like weekly coming in doing the thing. But it's so much more than that, as you know.
The media is constantly selling you negative stuff. The even when you are on these like WhatsApp groups, everyone's pushing negative stuff. There's all this negative propaganda. Why are you doing this? And there isn't like somebody saying, "Hey, you can do this." So Danial, assalamu alaikum.
I guess
So this is the camera. This is the little spiel. So Danial is the former national coordinator of Young Muslims,
yes,
right? And now Danial just graduated with a master's
I recently graduated with a
and
master's.
is a soon-to-be award-winning author.
Inshallah.
I will help give you the award,
Please.
and then I can say that you're an award-winning author, right? So I can give you an award, which is this thing, Oud al Kaaba. Now you're an award-winning author with this beautiful book that I have already purchased one copy and will buy 10 more copies at least, maybe more. It looks like it's enough for resale.
Appreciate
So tell me about the book.
Yeah, so book comes from just this experience that's been building for the last maybe 10 to 15 years. And I've been exposed to a lot of youth, alhamdulillah, just from the previous roles that you mentioned. I've seen people all across the country. I've seen a lot of their different problems, and the, I guess, recurring issue that I always felt like was lack of purpose, right?
Lack of purpose.
Yeah.
So why are you doing this?
Yeah. What are you trying to do with your life, right? I find people that move from different fad to different fad, right? They're moving with wherever the next cool thing is to do. And that's like usual, but even the ones who are involved, I see them working for one reason or another. They're in a job, they have a nice career, or even at the masjid, they're volunteering, whatever it might be. I still feel like a lot of people are just going through the motions. They're going through their day to day. In a lot of ways, they're letting their life run them. They're not running their life, right? And I wanted to stop that. I wanted to change that. And that's where this book is originally coming from. But it's also for those of them who don't know how to start, right? I want to do something. I want to change the world. I want to help. I want to get involved in my community. And it's not always easy. Not every masjid makes it very apparent how you can help. A lot of masjids don't make it look like you want to help, and organizations as well, right? So my purpose with this was you don't need a platform, you don't need a mic, you don't need the things that you think are Islamic work or just service in general. All you need is purpose, some courage, and put yourself out there.
So what gave you the confidence to write the book?
So I've been thinking about it a long time. When I was in YM, when I was in Young Muslims, I always felt, and I had a dream that I was gonna write a book one day. And originally, I was actually going to write about all the crazy things that happened to me when I was a national coordinator, or just in YM in general, all the crazy situations I found myself in, because I find YM or Young Muslims to be an organization that's largely unknown. It's known in the capacity of what it is.
It's known within the activist realm, but not within the general,
and I would say
everyday person realm.
And I would say even in the activist realm, I think it's underestimated and understood.
Yeah,
that's the way the right way to put it.
Misunderstood.
Misunderstood, yes, misunderstood, because it looks like a youth group at the masjid, right? And that looks great, like weekly coming in doing the thing. But it's so much more than that, as you know.
Yeah,
right? I come after what you built, mashallah. But so
and I come before.
You two once told me this. We stand on the shoulder of giants.
Yeah. We stand on. We do. We stand. Look, honestly, the YM is. I kind of get chills thinking about it. It's amongst the best years of my life for sure. Amongst the best friends that I ever had. Amongst the most sincere, genuine, honest, hardworking, selfless people I've ever met in my life. This came through YM, through ICNA, through the movement, through Islamic work, and I'm with you.
And what this book wanted to do is I wanted to capture some of the stories of those people that you're talking about. The book really isn't, it started off me thinking I'm going to talk about my experiences. I started trying to write. I couldn't do it. I have a hard time writing about my own experiences because it's not really about me. What I ended up doing is I started seeing all the different people who impacted me, right? They said something at the right time to get me going. They corrected me when I was falling off. They inspired me, right? So I'm starting to tell their stories of how they influenced me in my neighborhood, my community, and then eventually my country.
Because ultimately, it does take a village to raise
100%.
the child, right? And
100%.
so you're telling the story of the villagers
100%.
instead of the child, the story of the child.
The ones who wouldn't probably see the light of day any other way. And so I was thinking about doing this for a while, and then I went to Turkey last year. I ended up running into, I was at a conference when I ran into Imam Omar Suleiman.
Okay.
And we had a one-on-one. And I was explaining to him like where I'm at with my journey. I just finished YM. Very intense role in YM. I did the national coordinator role for 4 years. So it's very intense for me. And I didn't know where to go. I didn't know if I should keep doing youth work, if I should go another route. I have never needed to figure that out. I've always had something in my path. I couldn't find something at that time. And he just told me, if you haven't found your purpose yet, one thing you can do is just start writing about your experiences and maybe something will come to you. Right? It was very off the cuff advice. He may not even realize how much of an impact it had on me when he said it, right? But he said, maybe just write a little bit, think of what you can do, and it'll come to you. So that's when I decided I'm going to start writing. And then a few other mentors.
It's kind of interesting you bring the story up because to some degree, that's what caused me to start making videos.
Wow.
Because I have done Islamic work for the vast majority of my life. I'll be 37 in a few days. For 25 years, I've been doing Islamic work. And more than 25 years, I've been doing Islamic work. And I felt like I didn't know what was next for me in the Islamic work context. Like I grew up in YM. I'm an MG of ICNA. I am on the board of trustees of my masjid. I grew up at that masjid. I'm on the board of the masjid. But now I feel like, what next? And actually, it was a trip that I took recently to Pakistan.
Wow.
Where I visited Gwadar.
Dialforlaw.com. 833-DIAL-FOR-LAW. For law, dial for law. For law, dial for law. For all your legal needs, dial for law. Injured? Dial for law. Hurt at work? Dial for law. Arrested? Dial for law. For law, dial for law. For law, dial for law. 833-DIAL-FOR-LAW. Dialforlaw.com.
It was, every time I talk to people about going to Pakistan, people are like, why are you going to Pakistan? Right? Like in your mind, you're like, Subhan, Subhan goes to Pakistan, but like in your mind, you're like, why is Subhan going to Pakistan? Part of the reason I go to Pakistan so much is that I'm trying to figure out who I am. I grew up in America as a part of the Islamic movement, Islamic work, went to law school, became a lawyer, but like, where do I come from? How did I get my skin color? Where did my parents come from? Like, where are my ancestors? Where, like, on a path towards discovery. And so I was in Pakistan, but I was going to Gwadar, and every single person that I talked to was like, why are you going there? There's like all this negative propaganda, negative thing. And when I had this camera in my book bag, and I didn't go with the intention of I was going to make a film.
A lot.
But as so many people just negative, I was like, I just want to document this. But I just want to do it. So I started recording, no intention, no direction, no vision, nothing. Just do it. And when I got there and I saw Gwadar and I saw the natural, like the beauty of the thing, of the people, of like the place, of the food, of the culture, I was like, there's so much negative propaganda. Like, I just happened, it's crazy. And I told a few days after that trip, I met the IT minister in Pakistan. And I told her, there's all this negative propaganda about Pakistan. And just like, you guys need some sort of positive piece. And I don't know if I would necessarily classify myself as like a positive optimist person all the time. Maybe
Sure.
it probably wouldn't, but like I generally am a bit more positive and
Sure.
optimistic than a lot of people. And so I was like, you know what? I will help you make a video. And apparently it's gotten like 15,000 views.
Wow, subhanallah.
And so
That's
like,
amazing.
and maybe that's why I'm making more videos. I want to tell positive stories
Yeah.
of people that I know, and I want to help tell that story
Yeah,
because
yeah.
lawyers are very much so like just storytellers. And I think we talked about this before last
Yeah.
year. Lawyers, and I still will tell you to go to law school. For this reason,
Inshallah.
law is very much so about telling a story.
Narrative.
What happened? How does it affect them? What were the rules and the laws that are where it got, how does that impact them? But for the most part, you're just telling a story.
Yes. 100%.
This is what happened to this person, and this is how it affected them.
Yeah.
And I find that there is not a like positive narrative anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
The media is constantly selling you negative stuff. Even when you are on these like WhatsApp groups, everyone's pushing negative stuff. There's all this negative propaganda. Why are you doing this? And there isn't like somebody saying, "Hey, you can do this.
Yeah.
You should do this." And like, I tell you, a bunch of the people who've come, a lot actually, we've probably had like half the people who came and sat in the chair are law students.
Wow.
or people who are interested in going to law school.
Wow.
And they're the ones come and talk to me, and I'm telling them, you can do this. Like, you should go to law school.
Yeah.
Like, I tell you now, like, like Daniel, you should go to law school.
Inshallah.
Because it's a natural, like, if you're telling story, it's a natural progression of the storytelling.
I like how you're putting it. I think, like, for me, part of the inspiration in the book is if you ever come across something and it hits you that, someone should really do something about this.
That needs to be you.
Why isn't it you?
Yeah.
Right. And that's the whole point I'm trying to convey from this as well, is that I'm trying to bring a little bit more, I guess, to doing this type of work. Right. A lot of times it feels like, oh yeah, someone else's problem, someone else is going to do it. I'm glad that person's doing it. But it's very accessible.
Part of the reason why, the moment I heard you had wrote a book, I went and bought the book, and then I told you I was going to buy 10 more copies, is because when you tell somebody you're trying something new, people look at you like, oh, why are you doing this? Right? Like, when you told people you were writing a book, people were probably like, oh, why are you writing a book? Yeah. There's all these other books. No one's reading those books. Why people going to make you read your book? Yeah. And I would tell you, you should make your book into an audiobook.
Inshallah, that's the next
and you can use AI to do it, but like, just because people don't read. And people listen to books all the time.
I did hear this when I was writing. I asked people for advice before I wrote a book, and they're like, no one's going to read it. I was like, that's okay. I'll still put it together. But I have someone in mind to do the audiobook, inshallah. But you're right. And I think, like, there's actually, you'll read it, inshallah. One of the chapters in the book is about this idea, the power of a good word, right? Yeah. It's common. It's not rocket science. But I wonder how many times in history did the Prophet ﷺ say something light, something very encouraging but very light that probably changed the course of history, right? He told one companion to do one task at a particular time and just gave him a little bit of encouragement to do it, and then Bilal gives them the adhan for the first time, right? And that's the whole point, right? I want this to be that little bit of encouragement. Go do it. Exactly. And inshallah, you're right. Audiobook. One of the intentions was to do things like this.
That's why I immediately reached out to you and said, hey, I want to invite you to my masjid to talk about it.
Inshallah.
Whenever you're doing something new like this or anything, you need constant, go do it. You can do it. You can do it.
I'm indebted to all the support you're giving, the YM brothers are giving, all the brothers in my community are giving. I just saw today, it says it's like a best-selling for the topic of Islam on Amazon.
MashaAllah.
In 2 days before
you're a best-selling author.
in our top seller, I guess it says.
Top-selling author
right?
in Amazon.
So, it's crazy. And that's all it takes. Just encouragement, getting people to do it, right? One of the chapters of the book is actually about traveling, like you put out there. Traveling helps you find yourself.
Yeah, because like
it opens
you see the rest of the world, and you're like,
you find your place.
And actually, it's recent that I am trying to like rediscover Pakistan to some degree. I was born in Pakistan. I came to America when I was 2 years old. I grew up in America my whole life. I did not go to Pakistan until I was an adult.
Wow.
I mean, I went as a child, but like only to do family things. It wasn't until I was an adult that I went and I like
There's always a reason. Yeah.
seeing things, right? Like I went with my friends and they're like, "Tum hamare saath Pakistan chalo, tumko maza aayega." And like they were like showed me all these spots and food, and then I started traveling within Pakistan. Now I'm kind of I want to travel within the country, kind of discover where did my parents told me it's crazy. My parents told me I told my parents I'm going to Lahore from Karachi. My mom said she's never been to Lahore.
Wow. SubhanAllah. Wow.
I told my parents I'm going to Islamabad. My parents had been to Islamabad one time in their lives, ever.
Wow.
And then my parents have never been to the northern areas. And this kind of inspired me to like go and see and discover these things.
Gotta get out of here.
Like, where did my family come from?
Yeah. Yes.
Who am I? What am I doing here? Okay, my parents came here 35 years ago when I was 2 years old so that I could have a better life than they had. Okay, I get it. But like, how did that look?
Yeah. I love it. I love this idea
Like,
of you getting
where
out
did they come
of,
from?
I love how you're getting out of your
Like-
bubble, right? Even for me, right? Like this book is me getting out of my bubble. Right?
And like, I travel now throughout the Muslim world, and people look at me like, you should have the answers. You're 37. I'm about to be 37. I'm a father of 2 kids. I'm traveling. Like, people ask me questions, and I don't necessarily always know the answer. And so, like, I'm looking for this answer of like, I want to spend Ramadan overseas one year. I haven't done it yet. I want to spend Ramadan. I did the last 10 nights of Ramadan at Umrah one year. I did the last 10 nights of Ramadan in Jerusalem one year. Your dad helped me facilitate that in 2017. That's actually what got me into Bitcoin in the first place.
Dialforlaw.com. 833-DIAL-FOR-LAW. For law, dial for law. For law, dial for law. For all your legal needs, dial for law. Injured? Dial for law. Hurt at work? Dial for law. Arrested? Dial for law. For law, dial for law. For law, dial for law. 833-DIAL-FOR-LAW. Dialforlaw.com.
I don't know if you know this story.
I actually don't know that.
Okay, so in Ramadan of 2017, Trump 1.0, Trump was president the first time, and there was no iftar in the White House.
Yeah.
And there was an iftar on Capitol Hill by this organization called PAC, the Pakistani American Political Action Committee. And when I went there, I ran into Ahmed Bukhari, Dr. Zahid Bukhari's son, and Saad Ahmed, Subby's brother,
Yes.
and a few other old wine guys. And Ahmed Bukhari like sat me down and he's like, Subhan, like shaking me, like, Subhan, you need to understand about Bitcoin. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's like, Bitcoin is this freedom money. I could transfer money from me to you, and there's nobody in the middle, and it's scarce, it's digital, it's portable, it's divisible, all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, man, like, you're talking to me about this magic internet money, like the same way that I talk to like Lime guys now and Ikna and people, and they're like, oh, what are you talking about, dude? And then it wasn't until Ramadan of 2017, that same month, same month. Okay, so this was the first 10 nights of Ramadan that there was no iftar. I was in DC. The last 10 nights of Ramadan, I booked a trip to Jordan to the Helping Hand, and your dad at the time helped me meet the Helping Hand people.
Wow.
And I spent 2 days with Helping Hand distributing food, and distributing food.
Yeah.
And then I went to Jerusalem during the last 10 nights of Ramadan.
Lord.
And there I met Palestinians, and you want to help them. You want to help them. And I reached into my pocket as a Pakistani man, the only way that I've been taught as a child. You know, and this is again one of the things that's causing you to like question, who am I? Where did I come from? I tried to take money out of my pocket to give it to a guy, and he said no. And I was like, a Pakistani, this is the way I've been taught to help people. He said, no. And you know, as a Pakistani, we were taught that if you give them money, then I can put my hands up and say, oh, my job is done, right? My duty is complete, right? So I tried to hand the guy money, and he says no. And he takes me by the hand, and he takes me to a shop, says, buy something. And like my mind was like blown. In that one moment, I can remember like it was yesterday. I don't know the guy's name, but I just tell the story all the time. And here's this man. He does not have a country. He does not have anything, and he wants
You.
a halal, dignified income, a halal income. But when you give it to them, you're trying to give him money to buy something, even it's in Israeli shekels. And actually, one of the guests earlier, he told me that even and he's Palestinian, Maher from Coinbits, he'll be at the 6 o'clock session on Bitcoin today. He told me that even the shekels that they give the Palestinians are not redeemable for Israeli shekels.
Wow.
So they're not even giving them Israeli shekels, they're giving them garbage shekels. They inflate the garbage shekels much faster than the Israeli shekels. Imagine this.
That's crazy.
And I have the ability, this was 8 years ago, I have the ability to solve that problem by just giving you Bitcoin, by just transferring money from me to you without any government, without any country, without any institution, without any interference, nothing.
Yeah.
It's just direct.
Wow.
That's what Bitcoin is. And people just don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, and part of the frustration, I'm sure you have a chapter on like dealing with frustration.
Yeah.
Or like, you know,
a few. Yeah.
Part of there's Mahir right there. He was talking to me about the shekels. The frustrating thing is you just want people to get it.
Yeah.
And even the prophets, they wanted the people to get it.
Yeah.
But they didn't get it.
No.
It's only who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides.
And that's what you're doing it for. That's what you're ultimately doing it for. Right? There's a piece of my book where it's about stop complaining, start moving. Right? It's not easy. Right? You're gonna have so many people who tell you you're crazy.
Because you know, at times, even now, like as I'm sitting here, I'm kind of getting chills thinking about it. Because like at times, even now, I just would rather. It's just easier to give up.
Yeah.
It's just easier to not think about it. Yeah. It's just easier to not be stressed about what's going on in the world. It's just easier to just be a mindless, you know, NPC.
Yeah. Let your life run you.
And and wake up, go to work, don't think. You know, because thinking requires power. Yeah. People who are powerless don't even have the capacity to think. They're just doing.
Yeah.
Thinking requires you to have some sort of agency and the ability to think, you know, to like be able to take control of your decision.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of sharing my frustration with you, but like, you know, it's like, I just wish people got it faster.
You know, when I had this struggle for other things similar though, I always ask myself like, why am I putting myself through all this nonsense for no reason, right? And then
I'm not a prophet, you know.
But a friend of me shared this ayah. That's what I put in the book. A friend of me shared with me this ayah from Surah Rahman. Al jazaa al-ihsan ila al-ihsan. Right? Is there any reward for good other than good? It's got to be my favorite, or close to one of my favorite ayahs in the entire Quran. Because every time I read that ayah, I come back to thinking it is worth it. Whatever you're doing, whether it's successful, whether it actually works out for you, whether it takes longer than your lifespan to actually be seen, whether people are with you, whether people are not with you, it's all going to be in the good.
Yeah.
Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
It's just, you know, you just want people to get it.
I know.
You know, I want people to understand the thing. And you know, part of the reason why I'm so impassioned about, I mean, right now I'm talking about Bitcoin, so it's like super subhan. But like, you just want people to see the passion that you have for something, right? Yeah. Like you're driven by faith and purpose. And so, you know, you want people to share that purpose with you, but it's not always the case that they will.
They won't, right?
So
you do what you can.
Alhamdulillah.
You leave it to us.
Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it all the time. We got 22 minutes right there.
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.